How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, if I had to say this was a routine win for the All Blacks, I would be lying, and this would be a disservice to the French. What a game. What a game. I want to break it down. Please like, subscribe. It really does help the channel grow, and let's get into it. So, first of all, the French, they dominated for good portions of the game. They were scary. They were winning the lineouts. They were winning at the breakdown. They were turning over the ball so much. They just had that fire. They had that grit. They really put the All Blacks on their back. They made the All Blacks suffer at points, made a lot of the most out of their mistakes. Hastoy had an absolutely brilliant game. His kicking was on point. Same thing with Nolan Lagarek. He was phenomenal today, up until he did end up getting taken off. He did seem to have picked up a little bit of a knock. So um, he was brilliant. At the Sogbe played brilliantly. Villiers brilliantly. Guillard, though. Guillard had a phenomenal game. Now, the French had such a strong first half. The All Blacks constantly just managed to keep themselves in the game. Yes, they were making a lot of mistakes. It was a lot of the times unnecessary, but the French did put a lot of pressure on them, like a lot of pressure constantly. Obviously, the All Blacks, they didn't help their situation. Their line-out success was absolutely horrendous. They struggled when it came down to the scrums. And the thing with the All Blacks is they were scary at points. When they have those moments of brilliance, they break through and they are able to hold off their defensive. They are able to hold their defensive lines very well. Plus a couple try saving tackles as well. Same thing with France. I think it was Deportere managed to keep Ardi Sevilla in the try line, in the try zone, and he managed to hold it up somehow. But we had some moments of brilliance throughout the entire game from both squads. But the All Blacks, they just had that second half. They became more dangerous. We started to see, the flair on the passing. The passing became a lot more quick. There was a lot more flow to it. How they were passing in and around the back, the little switchovers. Their kicking game got better. But the one thing with the All Blacks, and it's something we've always seen, their ball carrying ability is phenomenal. From Ardi Sevilla to Fabian Holland to Will Jordan to, Leonard Brown. They just had brilliance throughout the game. And then Geordie Barrett comes on, puts through a bit of a masterclass, a bit of brilliance, and then sets Brodie McAllister in for a try, which ultimately saves them the game. It gets them the win, right? Because it was so tight. I think it was like 75th, 76th minute ish, where Brodie McAllister ended up going into the try for the try. But up until then, 22-19, it was fierce. Both teams were fighting for it. The All Blacks just had that extra little edge, though. They had that edge. You could feel it. They had the momentum. And I was pretty certain we were going to end up seeing the All Blacks create some extra bit of magic. And they almost did again at the end of the game. But they played well. We got tries. So the All Blacks got tries from Jordan, Leonard Brown, Karifi, McAllister, 3 conversions from McKenzie, and a penalty. For France, they got try from Lagarek, conversion by Lagarek, 3 penalties from Garek, and Hastoy with a beautiful drop goal on the 24th minute. So kind of shows where this game was set. The French's forwards were very good. They were very dominant. I do feel Gael Ficou at times went missing, but he just had, he had an all-round good game. But it was just making the most out of those moments, and that this is something that the All Blacks did. Come the second half, they made the changes. They made the most out of their moments. They started to become a lot more dominant when they started to run with the ball. They started to find a lot more space. They started to make a lot more yards in terms of what meters gained after the tackle, what post contact, and they just they started to assert their dominance far more. You look at the possession in the last 10 minutes of the game; it was 88%, 88%, right? But it's just Certain players made a big difference. Will Jordan made a big difference. 3 line breaks. Artie Surveyor with 21 carries, 6 defenders beaten. Cortez Ratimer with 94 passes. But, you know, they made the French work. I mean, Joshua Brennan with was it 20, 26 tackles completed. Like, that is ridiculous. Absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. You know, and this this has to be taken with a bit of a pinch of salt, because this is a French side that is a weakened side, is not a top tier side. There's a lot of players here which are still getting better. You know, they are still improving. The partnerships are still building. They played absolutely brilliant, and like I say, if if you were to look at the scoreline, you would say, okay, this is a relatively routine win for the All Blacks. It was far from that. The French kept the All Blacks in state of worry through a good portion of the game. But the thing with winners is they find a way to win, especially when you're dealing with a team like the All Blacks. Yeah, they did play some big players, but they always managed to find a way to win. That is a sign of a winner. You look at South Africa, even when they're playing horribly, they find a way to win. Same thing with the All Blacks. They managed to get through. They managed to hold the pressure. They managed to put their own pressure. They just managed to use their quality and really started to find those openings in the second half. And that is what they did. The French kept them tight, but a little bit of genius from Jordie Barrett managed to break away, and Brodie McAllister getting himself in with his first cap and his first try as well. So absolutely lovely. Look, guys, please like, subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. And I want to hear what your thoughts are. So drop it in the comment section below. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.